The noise gate is one of the most important tools in music production. But the problem is that while most gates do their job adequately, there hasn't really been a solution that utilizes new technologies to perfect the role of the gate. And that was the challenge we gave to the Slate digital engineering team. And the result of that quest is 2 new gate plugins in our gate series. So let me show you the first one, which is our drum gate. Now, as you're about to hear, this one kind of defies the laws of physics. Now, at first, you may be thinking that some of these parameters look a bit foreign, but after you watch this tutorial and put this thing to use, I assure you it's going to be fast and feel very intuitive. First, here's a very troublesome kick drum. Now, here is why this kick drum is so problematic. It's because the snare leakage overlaps the decay of the kick drum. And many gates can't solve this issue. They would just gate out the snare at the expense of removing the sound of the kick's decay. But our drum gate not only includes a specialized transient detecting gate section, but it also includes an incredibly effective and unique debleeding section, which is a frequency-specific gate just for the tail of the source material. And it will allow me to gate this kick without having to compromise the kick decay. First, we'll isolate the kick transient using our transient detection. The transient detection sets the transient's sensitivity, and the transient detection threshold sets the threshold to which transients will be detected. Okay, so we isolated the kick drum transient, but the problem is that we still hear that damn snare, which overlaps the kick's decay. Now, we could go down here and reduce the release, but listen what happens when we do that. You can hear that we gate out the snare, but at the expense of the kick drum's decay. So I'll set the release to where we get back our kick decay. Now we have our kick decay back, but we need to get rid of the snare bleed that's on the tail. So we'll do that with the debleeder section, which is a special gate that only works on the tail of the source material. So up here is our transient section, and down here is our tail section. So we'll press the little hand icon, which auto-activates our sidechain listen filters. And my goal is reducing the low pass so that it cleans up that snare bleed from the tail. Then I'll tweak the debleed release, which controls the speed at which this tail filter kicks in. Now that's important. It's called a release because it is a release envelope, but what it controls is how quickly this bleed low pass filter kicks in. Check this out. Now we have the entire kick transient, the entire decay, and the snare bleed is ancient history. Let's do an A/B. So now here's a tom track. As usual, the problem with tom fills is that they are almost always accompanied by an overlapping crash hit. But this tom track also has insane amounts of snare leakage. So it's very difficult to gate or even manually clean up these toms in a way that preserves the tom decay while eliminating the cymbals and snare. But not so with our drum gate. First, we need to make sure the transient detection is picking up all those little soft tom hits and isn't getting triggered by cymbals, so we'll do that now. Before I start, I'm going to back down the range because I personally want to let in just a little bit of the raw track, which sounds a bit more natural on tom tracks. Okay, here we go. As you can see, we really had to scoop down our low-pass filter so the transient section could focus only on tom transients. Then we needed to max out the transient detection to pick up all those little tom hits. But that still leaves us with all this crash and snare bleed. And if we simply cut it out with the release, we're also cutting out too much of the tom decay. Check it out. So now it's magic debleeder time. I'm going to adjust the release to allow the full decay in. Then I'm going to adjust the debleed section to filter out the crash and snare from the tail. And remember, the release envelope in the debleed section controls how fast the tail filter kicks in. And the easiest way to adjust it is by ear by determining what sounds most natural. Here we go. Time for a final A/B. The gates bundle also includes our Gate Classic, which is a traditional, straightforward gate that effectively and easily removes background noise from guitars, vocals, and other acoustically recorded source material. In vocal mode, it has a special filter to detect breaths, so it's great at tightening vocal tracks. Now, you've already heard Gate Classic in action because I've been using it on this actual voiceover recording, and of course it only took me seconds to dial it in. So I hope you enjoy your 2 new Gate plugins. Really take the time to dive into them and you'll be thoroughly rewarded. And with that, happy mixing.